Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone, the only show weekly on YouTube where you can ask questions to a medical doctor who is also a champion bodybuilder. Ask Dr. Testosterone is brought to you by his book, The Bible of Bodybuilding 2, over 700 pages, everything you need to know about training, nutrition, supplementation, of course, PEDs, available on Amazon.com. If you're on Amazon.com, might as well get my book, Real Bodybuilding. And now, all the way from Athens, Greece, please welcome Dr. George N. Touliatos. How are you, George?
Hello, Ron. Good morning.
Yeah. So I want to start off with a pretty important subject. Steroids are never safe to use, but they're more dangerous for some people, definitely to use. So here's the first question. I've heard that some people with certain pre-existing conditions or family histories of specific diseases or conditions should not use steroids as the risk is too great for them. What are some of those?
I think when you have a tendency for coagulopathy, then also if you have issues like cardiovascular disease and higher tendency from your folks. Of course, if you are born with one kidney, and the other thing goes for the mental status if you are schizophrenic or bipolar. It's not a good idea for all those cases to use anabolic steroids.
Yeah. So what about? I know you've had issues with your hematocrit levels, where your hematocrit levels would get very high. Is that right?
Well, everybody has. I mean, steroid users certainly, because erythrocytosis is a common effect. But I was not treating my sleep apnea, definitely, until I used the CPAP. So. Everybody has erythrocytosis, but okay, mine was a little bit higher. Even though when I talked to Ron McLean in Santa Monica, he told me that he also faces people with elevated hemoglobin 19 to 20. The point is, you need to be phlebotomized, you need to use the aspirin, and treat the sleep apnea. But if it's a pre-existing, meaning polycythemia vera, yes, you cannot touch the steroids because in polycythemia vera, you have also elevated platelets that makes the risk higher. But secondary erythrocytosis is what people develop in Colorado, for instance, in Mexico, okay, in Tibet. Also, what smokers develop, but smoking is not a good habit because it also elevates clotting by messing up the endothelium, but also elevating fibrinogen, which is another clotting factor.
Yeah.
And also what people develop by sleep apnea. So in those three cases, the platelets are still down.
Yeah.
Okay. But my case was not pre-existing. My hematocrit, when I was hypogonademic or before I started using steroids, was 45, was normal.
Okay.
I was not anemic, of course, but 45 is optimal.
Yeah.
All right. So we're talking not to initiate steroids in first place.
Right. But I know some bodybuilders have a family history of, they have high blood pressure even without steroids.
Yeah, that's the case also. Yeah, you need to treat that. You need to stay away from high androgens, from aromatase and steroids also. And of course, stay away from stimulants and from table salt in order to not to worry about cerebral stroke, for instance.
Yeah, and I'm going to assume if you have any kind of liver issues pre-existing, that oral steroids.
Liver issues, I don't think so. I mean, if you have hepatitis already, don't touch the pills. Okay, it's not a good idea.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, in your practice, have you come across men who had these conditions but decided they were going to use steroids anyway?
Well, listen. Mental disease. But we have a hesitation for TRT, perhaps, even though when you need testosterone, you need to use it. And besides, 100 milligrams of testosterone, you're not going to make you wacko.
Yeah.
But listen, if you're a lunatic and you just want to use steroids because you want to get jacked, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's the vast majority of steroid users. They just
if your dad has died from a heart attack in a young age, if your mother has also high cholesterol, I don't think it's a good idea to compete.
Yeah, true. I mean, what about cancer? Is there any links between
Well,
cancer?
the only correlation between steroids and cancer in the first place is the pills and the liver. Okay, that's the commonest though. Testosterone certainly doesn't lead to that, to cancer.
Mm,
But in my family runs cancer because of my parents.
yeah.
And even about the GH can only lead you to cancer, but don't use GH while there's a pre-existing tumor. Okay, that's why you need to watch out your tumor markers.
Right.
And of course, don't booze, don't smoke, and don't expose yourself too much under the sun. Don't eat inflammatory foods in order to don't tease the King Kong, for instance, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Let's move on. When on TRT, what is better to lower the SHBG to raise free testosterone, Proviron or oxandrolone? And what are the minimum doses of each one?
Well, I think Proviron is very notorious for that. It binds tightly with this HBG. It's by far less expensive and less toxic. Okay, so go for Proviron. You can find it in Europe. You cannot find it in the States.
Hmm.
In the States, you can get Anabar, but Anabar, if you go over high dose, you will mess up your lipids, which is more important than elevating your liver.
Hmm.
Besides, Anabar is super expensive. Okay, it can be easily faked, unlike the Proviron.
Yeah, I didn't know that Anavar raised your free testosterone. I had no idea. I mean,
Actually, Iran prescribes that to
oh,
high.
really?
It's so cool getting Anabar for as a libido enhancer.
Wow.
But it's a super expensive solution because you can still raise your testosterone dose and can do the same thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the TRT places will not, most of them will not prescribe Anavar in the US. They won't. Yeah. It's,
But if you are HIV patient, they will.
yes. Yes. But just a regular schmuck like me, no, I'm not getting it. And that's okay.
They're gonna tell you increase your TRT dose, okay,
Yeah.
and use a larger dose, less frequent.
Right on. Okay. We get hair loss questions every week. Everybody wants to have nice hair. Guy says, I have a little hair loss. What can I take to grow my hair without affecting my natural testosterone?
As a matter of fact, the DHT blockers will raise your testosterone. The point is, they will kill your libido because they will crash on your DHT that gives you this libido instinct.
Mm.
Okay. Now, if you don't want to kill your DHT by those agents, you can use minoxidil that improves the blood flow, and also the shampoo Nizoral that kills the DHT on the scalp.
Okay.
Otherwise, just take the finasteride in a foam thing, or the dutasteride that, of course, they're not so effective like swallowing them, you know?
Okay. Oh, see that because that was my concern about finasteride. I don't want anything that's going to affect sex drive or sex performance, but you're saying the foam wouldn't do that.
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
No, and there was a little strangely, there was a patient who told me that his endocrinologist suggesting the use of palmetto for the hair thing. And yeah, the palmetto, come on, it's a candy, okay?
To you, what do they want him to use?
Palmetto berry, you know that.
Oh, saw palmetto for his hair.
Yeah, we know this is a candy thing, you know, it's not a serious medication. And still, she said, yet the palmetto improves his hair but kills his libido.
Wow.
What about using dutasteride, you know, which is
Yeah.
bazookas?
Huh, that's a very strange prescription right there.
Yeah.
More TRT questions. Why is it that in TRT, aromatase inhibitors are used sometimes, but almost anyone, I think he meant to say, but nobody suggests DHT inhibitors. Using both in small dose should be beneficial.
We don't need to block the DHT. Come on. If testosterone is so important because of the DHT and because of the estradiol, we need estrogens. I don't think we should block estrogens when we're talking about 100 to 100 milligrams. We need the estrogens for our benefit. Okay, don't mix the things between bodybuilding and TRT. Yes, with a high dose of testosterone, more likely you're going to need the aromatase inhibitor. But yet the gynecomastia reacts better with a serum, with a tamoxifen. But I don't think you should kill the DHT because you're going to kill your sex drive. We need that. We need the self-esteem. We need the cognitive function. All of that comes out of DHT. It's not a villain. Okay. Now, if you're high converted to DHT, yeah, you may are prone to hair thinning, but you're going to pay the dues by blocking the DHT and leaning. You're going to become depressive. You're going to have a slight gynecomastia because DHT is estrogenic.
Yeah.
And you're going to kill your sex drive. Nobody wants that.
Yeah. But so that was a weird part of the second question. If you took aromatase inhibitors and a DHT inhibitor, would you need to use less testosterone?
Now, if you use testosterone, when you block the one metabolite, the other increases. So if you block the DHT, the estrogen increases. And this is reasonable because DHT is anti-estrogenic. All right. So when we use a lot of Propecia or Avodart, we notice that our nipples are smoother. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you use a lot of aromatase inhibitors, like in bodybuilding, you become harder also because you increase the DHT, which is anti-estrogenic, and also gives you the hardness because it's an androgen.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Makes sense.
So if you use, I don't understand the nature of this question, because if you block completely the estrogens, you're not gonna have a sex drive. Lack of estrogens completely make you feel shitty. Your joints are gonna be cracking, and your libido will be tanked, just like in bodybuilding.
Yeah. Well,
okay, you need a little bit of estrogens.
Well, you've been saying that every week, but I think we need to keep saying it because so many bodybuilders and people in general think estrogen is the villain. We want to crush estrogen. It's horrible. But yeah.
I thought the same. So the week before the show, I was using 2 milligrams of Arimidex a day to look harder. Listen, King Kamali told me once in 2009, use 1 a.m., 1 p.m. This is what was the knowledge back then.
Yeah.
Now scientists believe that without estrogens, you cannot kill the fat. I can understand the nature of this, the mechanism of action, but this is what they say. So if it comes an obese individual with very low testosterone, then it's TRT.
Yeah.
I give him 250 of testosterone because they need a large boost to burn the fat and exercise and have the stimulus and the drive to go to the gym. Yeah. Okay, because they have also a large BMI. But I'm afraid that because they are so fat, they're going to aromatize. So I'll give him also 1 milligram of Arimidex. There was a physician from the States who told me that if you don't give the Arimidex, you're going to have better fat burning effect. I'm not sure how this works, but that's what they say now. In women, it works because menopausal women, they cannot lose weight because they don't have estrogens.
Right.
In women, it works. And when they get HRT with estrogen, they start losing fat.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because I just stopped taking my aromatase inhibitors like a month ago because I was concerned about the bad effects that they have. So maybe I'll just get back on it. But I was on a half.
Thomas told you only if you're symptomatic.
Right, and I'm not. So yeah.
And I told you if you have a sky high testosterone, it's more likely to have an elevated estradiol. It's the proportion.
Yeah, I mean 1,200. My test was about 1,200 total. That's not sky high. It's pretty high, I know. But my estrogen was 80, 85.
Have 100 of E2.
Okay, yeah, I had 85, so I'm good. All right.
I think it's very good.
Okay, our last question is about iron, which I didn't know was ferritin because I'm not the chemistry guy. My ferritin is 8 with high fatigue when the range is. So I guess the normal range is 22 to 322. I started taking iron 28 milligrams per day. How long will it take to have a mid-range of ferritin? And also, could the low ferritin be the reason for my high CPK?
Well, a low ferritin is better than a high ferritin because high ferritin is linked to inflammation. But also low ferritin is linked to fatigue, and I've experienced a severe fatigue with a ferritin of 30. Because I was doing phlebotomies and I was staying out of red meat. Now, make sure that the iron is absorbed only on an empty stomach with the catalyst of vitamin C. Otherwise, it's not easily absorbed.
Wow.
Stay away from coffee and dairy products when you consume the iron.
Wow.
So first thing in the morning. Now it needs a couple of weeks to catch up. So use 100 milligrams of iron with 1 gram of vitamin C. That's the ratio. Okay.
Empty
And
stomach.
will catch up, and you're gonna feel great if ferritin is over 850. Okay, at least over 50.
It's a good thing you said empty stomach, because I think most people just take supplements with all their vitamin supplements with meals.
Yeah. Now, whenever you have a steak, make sure you have an orange, okay, or pepperoni together in order to absorb the vitamin C, the iron of the steak.
Okay. Did you say pepperoni?
Pepperoni has a lot of vitamin C. Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, of course.
Never knew that. Obviously, I knew oranges, but pepperoni, I had no idea. Wow. Cool. Well, that is it for this week's questions, guys. So please get your questions in for next week below. Put them in the comments, or just leave us a comment. Well, I like to hear your feedback. See how we can make the show better.
3 weeks until the Arnold, eh?
Less. We're recording this on a Sunday, so in 3 weeks, the Arnold's going to be over. Give me your
We have
top five.
Yes, 3 Mr. Olympias.
Yeah.
Brandon, Derek, and Samson.
Yep.
And also we have Andrew Jack.
It's Sean Clarita, 212 Olympia champion. I know he's a shorter guy, but he's very good too. It's going to be a great show. Yeah, I'm not going. You're not going, but we'll be watching. We'll be watching.
I've been to the Arnold because also the Arnold education, but it was very cool to go in the middle of the winter and have, it's closer for me, the East Coast. But it was very cool seeing the Arnold himself and all the hotels. It's nice to dress warm in the States in the winter, because when it's freezing. It was the first time when I went to the States because of the Arnold.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, yeah, 2016 when I first met Rick Collins.
That's right. I think that's the first time I met you in person, right?
It was 2019 in Vegas.
I didn't meet you till 2019.
Yeah, and by the way, Dan Solomon said that 9 to 12 October would be at the same spot at the World Resort.
That's right. Yeah, and Vegas was just so hot. Oh,
yeah.
I think they're
going to repeat in the same place. They found a place now to do it.
Yeah, the same Resorts World. They're going back to Resorts World.
It was not bad in Florida, though. It was not bad.
I liked it in Florida. I had no problem with having it in Orlando. I would go again in Orlando.
See, of course, the venue was not, like in World Resort.
Yeah, but I mean, Orlando's closer to me. It's like a 2-hour flight.
But to me, the best place, the best theater was the Zappos, 2022. And 2019, the Orleans. The Orleans was so huge.
Yeah. It's funny because the Orleans hotel was not a great hotel, but the arena was very nice, huge, modern. Yeah, it was a great place to see the Olympia, the Orleans. But, Dan Solomon and Jake Wood, they always find great locations. So no worries. It's going to be awesome, as always. All right, cool. Well, that's it, guys. That is it for this week's episode. We're very, very fortunate to have Dr. Touliatos every week. So thank you very much, George. Appreciate what you do here. Get your questions in for next week. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll